All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. It's House Edge Live. It's John here on Casino Gaming Central. Let's get to it today. It's a Monday. We are in a new week, and I wanted to talk to you this week about sort of taking advantage of opportunity, and not just opportunity like driving for the home run here, but really looking at your opportunities in gambling, where they are, and when and kind of how to take them. So we'll do some craps talk today, probably all week long, but I really want to talk about overall toolkit, that kind of thing. So as we always do, let's jump in and remember kind of the disclaimer here, right? Everything I say, where's my beautiful picture? What happened here? Is that weird, or is that, oh, you know why? Let me see. What the hell? Hold on. Is that what I wanted? Ah, there I am. Okay, let's go. Wow. Okay, back there. One more. Oh, geez, Lou. It's almost like I know what I'm doing on the show. Let's remember a couple things. What we say on these shows is for entertainment, right? We love to gamble. We think it's a lot of fun and all that kind of stuff, right? But ultimately, we're just trying to have some fun, right? And what we want to do, all of us who do these shows for the most part, is teach you ways to do this kind of safely and with your eyes wide open, right? The casinos obviously exist to take your money, right? Their business model is to bleed you out, right? We know that. So go into this thing knowing there's no winning formula in gambling. No matter how much money you pay people, right? Or how many channels you join, or how much whatever, there's no secret to this. Ultimately, all the strategies that we show you will go down. Ken says it every day on his show. Every strategy loses, right? Every way to play goes down at some point because you run out of bankroll. Eventually, you run out of bankroll. The casino never runs out of bankroll. You will, right? People get emotional with regards to their risk, and they make poor decisions, right? We lose discipline. We don't set goals. We don't really know the games we're playing and all of that. So you got to make sure that you're kind of all in on all the aspects of what it takes to be good at this stuff. And by being good, you're still not going to be as good as they are. And that's kind of the eye opener for most people. It took me a long time to really, I don't want to say know that, because I've always kind of known that, but come to grips with it and be like, yeah, you know what? Just the way that it is, right? So I want to talk to you today a lot about positional play. Okay. Oh, I see that Ken came here. Good morning, Ken. Good to see you. Vegas Crap Shooters is here. Good morning. And of course, Ron from California Craps. How you doing, guy? Let's get into it here. I want to try and switch. I want to be on this side. Actually, I want to be over here. Can I do this and switch? Ah, look at that. That's the better side. That's my good side, right? All right. Let's talk about where you live in the world of gambling. Okay. And what tools you pick. And I think this is so important. And I'm so glad that we have multiple things to kind of start with, right? We've talked about at this level, and I'll probably stay up here today, blackjack, baccarat, roulette, and craps. Kind of the big four, right? You could throw video poker in there as the fifth one. I don't play a lot of video poker, but I probably should. Every one of those games has a different kind of, that's what I'm looking for. Goal, mindset, what it's built for, what it's best for. All of them, right? They all work differently. And if I'm going to try and quote unquote just kind of play for comps, I'm not playing craps. It's too busy of a game. They don't rate you very well. Right? I would probably choose roulette, honestly, or maybe blackjack. The problem with blackjack and comp building is that it goes so fast, you can burn too quick, right? Roulette, you can grind all day long. You can play for the ties. You can hedge things out. Great comp builder, right? Not a ton of opportunity on roulette. Most roulette strategies, you're going to grind. You're going to risk 300 to win 10 all the time, right? That's the way that game works. If we're looking to build bankroll, and I think, and again, I'll highlight Ken enough here with this one here. The secret is you get the fuck out, right? The secret to building bankroll is what he says here. The secret is getting out, right? And I will tell you this, in my opinion, as much as I love craps is not the game for that. Ken showed it a million times. He could, and the problem with it, with Ken showing that, and even Jimmy showing that, and me showing what I will show Baccarat, is that it's boring. Not an exciting game. There's not a lot of high-fiving in Baccarat. People don't go crazy and high-five and hug. It's not that kind of game, right? But it's one of the best, if not the best game to grind through, right? And do your little black chip ladder or your black chip hybrid or your black chip whatever and grind out a little bankroll build. And if you're willing to put up some dough, grind it through, a little bit of ladder, a little bit of in and out, right? You can get out of there and build bankroll. $100, $200, $250, $300, $100 every day. You can do it in that game. That game has more, it's more likely to help you grind out those consistently sized, scoped wins with a known loss. It's not going to be this giant swing. And the way I can prove that to you is this. If you remember the other day when I did the chips in a bag, and I can't do it again, and my bag's gone. But if I put a bunch of chips in a bag, right? If I put 100 chips in a bag, and we said, look, 44 of these are banker, or 45 are banker, 44 are player, and 9 of them are ties. And I just did the thing and lined them up. Remember how I did that? If I did that, you're very rarely going to find 8 or 9 in a row. Once in a while, a shoe is going to have a string of 8 or 9, right? And if you're on the wrong side of that, if you're laddering in that part, you're going to be screwed, right? Most of the time, though, it's 2, 3, 4, 5 is the most, right? That's why that game, if you stick to rhythm, you'll be okay to build, okay? Craps is not a bankroll building game, although it can be. If you catch the right series of rolls, it can be a bankroll building game, but it's not designed for that. It's designed for the last two I have on here, hoping for something hot and hammering something, right? And I think that players fall into these 4 categories most of the time. And let me describe them again. The bankroll builder guy, right? You got $5,000 set aside from whatever. I actually know a guy who I was talking to the other day. He's like, yeah, and I won't share his name or anything, but he's like, I do this thing on the side. I have this little side hustle. And it could be Ubering. I know people who Uber, right? Who drive Ubers, or they do Uber Eats, or I have a friend who drives cars for like Carvana, right? His job is, he's in Washington, and effectively he goes to Seattle, grabs a car, drives it to Yakima, picks up another car, drives it to somewhere else, and then he drives home, right? That's his kind of side hustle. Does it a couple days a week. That goes in his gambling account, and there it is, right? That guy who's put aside $5,000-10,000 wants to build that bankroll up to become kind of a bigger shooter. That guy's not, or shouldn't be, at the craps table trying to hit home runs to build his bankroll. It's not the way you do it. You grind it out, right? And I think he should be playing Baccarat or Blackjack. Grind it out on those games, right? On a more quote-unquote 50-50 game, Baccarat's better than Blackjack is. Blackjack only helps you out because of the fact you can double down sometimes, right? If you're a cruise ship guy and you want to earn those free cruises, in my opinion, it used to be video poker was the way to do that. Video poker was the best way. My wife played video poker for as many hours as I played craps. She tripled my points on the last cruise we were on. Tripled my points on the last cruise we were on. This past cruise, she didn't, because they've changed the metric on the video poker. But on roulette, I earned most of my points on roulette just because the way that game is tracked. If I'm looking for comps, I'm picking a game that satisfies that. You can play roulette for a pretty long time with pretty low risk. And I say low risk because you can reduce yourself down to very few donks and grind it through. But if you're looking for more of a home run, those games aren't the one. You're not gonna sit there with $100 or $300 bankroll at a Baccarat table and in 15 minutes turn $300 into $5,000. It just isn't going to happen. That game is not built that way. Nor is Blackjack. Frankly, nor is Roulette. None of those games are going to turn 300 into 3,000 or 5,000. It just doesn't happen. They're not made that way. Craps, however, can. And the last 2 categories here of people, the people who are kind of hoping for a miracle, right? And they play in a way that sets them up to hope for the miracle win. And then they play to hammer the casino. If that's your thing, craps is the better game. It's set up for that. Craps, the rhythm of craps is set up for that. However, the flip side of that is because it's a very opportunistic game and it's very home run ready, it's also super volatile the other way. So if you're not getting the home runs, you're probably getting zero. It's pretty much like Major League Baseball nowadays. It's strikeout or it's home run, right? There's not a whole lot of variance in there. You're either going to get it or not. We played this weekend. Ian Olson, who I see in chat here, got a private table for us over in Seattle. We played, and it was pretty bad, right? We had, I think one guy had a 16, 17 roller. I think I rolled 10 plus twice. One person, I won't say names, but one person rolled like 37. The rest of the table, 1 hit and out, 2 hits and out, 3 hits and out. There was nothing. We're kind of here, right? It was PSO, 4 rollers, right? But everybody there is hoping for the win. Everybody's dropping 555 on the ATS. Everybody's blasting inside or across. Hammer, hammer, hammer. Hammer, hammer, hammer. That happened all night long. But the goal in a session like that is not to build bankroll. And I say this all the time. I know that people like my good friends don't always agree with me. But if I'm there with a bunch of friends on a private table, I'm not there to take 2 rolls and stop playing, or make $100 and walk off the table. You're there to play with people. That's a different mindset, right? And I think that mindset is what I want to talk about today and most of the week is these people. I'm going to break these people down and look at ways to build, ways to play for comps, and ways to get yourself set up, and then ways on craps specifically that work well to hammer rolls. And we're going to talk, Dr. Don't Pass, about some positive progressions, right? I will be doing lots of these, especially when I talk Baccarat. Once my felts arrive, and it should be in a week or so, we'll talk about, I'll deal Baccarat, and I'll deal some blackjack, and we'll really talk about positive progressions, because those games, I think, really support that mentality. And the positive progressions, by the way, work everywhere if you're willing to try them out. Matter of fact, let me just run to the table. Do you mind? Let's just go here, and let me show you some stuff. I do have some chips laid out here. This is my dealer section up top. But we can look at these positive ways to play anywhere. And let's actually put yourself in this situation. I'm gonna kind of set us up here for failure. This is a player who, let's just try and set a rack up, right? He's got 2 black chips in the back of the rack, right? Maybe this is wins from before. Maybe he did some grinding stuff and won some money, right? He's got 160 here for his next shooter, okay? But he's done something out here that left him, I'm going to put money out here. He left him in this spot, okay? We got left with 64 across. Let's say he did some move, whatever it was. And I don't want to talk about opening moves. I really want to talk about this situation, okay? Because craps it's kind of a non-starting conversation unless you're going to be talking about what happens after you've made your money, okay? Let's say you went out with 160, and in some manner or form, you made $65. Whether you just took 2 hits for $35, put the 160 back, and use the other $70 that you won to go across. Maybe that's what you did here, okay? I only want to address craps moving forward from this position, and I'll remind you of that every day. The come out game is a different play, and we'll do a whole series of craps come out moves, which is, how do I get out of the hand? And when I say get out of the hand, I mean I started, and let me set it up for you in the back row. We started with 160, and let's just say that we got 35 and 35. We took 2 wins of $35. You did something back here. You same betted it, or you did whatever you want to do, and you got your money, and you're doing this. Okay, now, this person who got his money back, that's what this is over here. He got his money back. He's got his $70. He's going to go 64 across. Okay, which means he would actually have a little bit of change coming in the rack. That's the $6. That's a $6 change. Okay, that's what these white chips are. Okay, at this point in time, if you want to be grinder guy or comp builder guy, you can't be comp builder guy. You can be grinder guy. You can say, look, I made $70, right? I got my $6 and my 64 across. I got my $70 that I had won on that. I'll leave it out here for a visual, right? I can stop playing, and I'll say, you know what? Instead of doing this, let me just take the $70 and put it over here in my rack. I'll put it over here to the side. You guys can barely kind of see it, I think, but it's over here. Can I move it up so you can see it? There it is. And I'll hold on to it, and I'll let that shooter play themselves out. And the next shooter comes up, and I'm going to go 160 across again. We'll do 2 hits. We'll take our $70. And if that happened, let's say you did 160 across, you took your 2 hits, and now you've got your I need more reds over here. And now you've got your $70. Cool, man. You know what? We're going to put the $70 over here. We're going to put this over here again. And now I got 140 sitting on the side. Awesome, right? Instead of playing the 64 with the 6 change, I got 140 sitting over here. And you know what? I'll wait. And I'll do it again. And I'll wait for the shooter to 7 out. And then I'll go to the next shooter and I'll do 160 across, 2 hits. And now I've got whatever that adds up to, right? 210. And rinse and repeat. That, by the way, right? If I were to do that, Ken is doing this right now with a lay 4 and basically the same idea. A couple of hits and boogie on out. It's got nuance to it, but it's essentially that same thing. You could grind out $70, $70, $70, and be out right before shooters. That's a way to kind of build bankroll and grind out. But that's not what craps is for. The goal or the setup of this game is not for that, although that's a great thing to do. And maybe if you're playing by yourself in the morning on the way to work, if I lived in Vegas and I stopped by South Point on the way to work and I bought in for $200 and I went 160 across, 2 hits and went to work. And on the way home, I stopped in and went 160 across, 2 hits and went home and ground out $140 a day. That's a different story, right? I'm not saying I would do that, but I'm saying a guy could do that if he wanted to, right? But what I'm getting to is this. If you're actually out of the hand and you're playing craps for that longer run, what do you do now? And that's what I want to focus on today. What do we do now? If you're this guy here, if I go back to the other screen, remember the four people I told you about, the guy who's building bankroll, the guy that's looking for comps, the guy that's hoping for something to happen. That's this guy here, right? I won 70. I'm betting 64. I'm hoping something happens. Okay. I got $6 to show for it. What people don't realize, I think, is this. When you're out of the hand, like we are, you've got an acceptable win. 64 and 6. I got an acceptable win here that I could leave with. Okay. Or I'm hoping for something cool to happen. And if I'm hoping for something cool to happen, how do I hammer it? What do I do now? This is where Dr. S is asking for positive progressions. What do I do here to make something interesting happen? Okay. And let's take a look at some positive progressions in general, and then I'll apply them up here and we'll kind of take a look at it, right? One positive progression that you can do, right, is a 1-2-1. Very simple. And the way that these progressions work is this. You have 1 unit, okay? When it wins, you parlay it. Now it's a 2-unit win. When the 2 units win, you go back down to 1. And what you've got is your 1 unit back plus the 2 units that you ultimately risked. You have a 2-unit profit, 1 in your original back, and you're playing with 1. That's a 1-2-1. Super simple. In craps, by the way, we call that a double tap. And what does a double tap look like? Let's say the 9 hits, right? And the 9 pays $14. You drop $1 from your rack to make it 15, okay? And you go to, I'll leave it like this, it goes to a quarter. The 9 now looks like, I'll make it right, $25. That's a 1, right? We had 1 out there. We won. We made it look like 2. It actually a little bigger than 2 because we have extra cash on the win, right? Looks like 2. When this wins, it wins 35, and we go back down to 1 unit. Put the $10 back. Bring back 50 to your rack. That we call in craps a double tap. 10-ton is number 1 from Casino Tiers, calls that the 10-ton 2-hit takedown. It's 2 hits on a number, right? David from Casino Quest calls it a double tap. Okay. Baccarat players call it a 1-2-1. It's the same thing. All these positive progressions that we can do work on every single bet. That netted me $50, by the way. Okay, look at that, $50 to the rack. I did this the other night on one of our shooters' great rolls. I just did this. I was 64 across after getting out of the hand, and I did that on every single number. Literally on the 10, right? That pays 20 for 2. right? 20 for 2, bang, press it up. 30 pays 60, right? And I'm back down to 10, right? It's a full press and then a full regress. And guess what that nets me? There's my $10 that I started with, right? 50, $70 to the rack, right? That move is a great positive progression move, a 1, 2, 1. Very simple, right? You could be more aggressive. And you know I love the 1, 3, 2, 4, but just as powerful as the 1, 3, 2, 4 is the 1, 3, and done. 1 and 3 done. Look at this, right? If I come with a 1 unit bet and it wins, and I add 1 from my rack to make it look like 3, and 3 units wins, I take my 2 units back, right? The one that I started with and the one that I added from my rack, and I have a 4 unit win. On a 1-to-1 bet, that's pretty cool. On the 9 or the 5, let's do it again. Let's win 15 for 1. Okay. Now I have 1, 2. I got to drop $5 to make it 3 units. Okay. Now I've got 30 on this thing, which pays $42. And I'm back down to 1, which means there's my one I started with. There's the one I pressed with. Back to my rack that goes. My net is $42 plus the 10 that I'm still playing with, and I can do it again. Every time that move works, the cool thing is the next time that it happens, right, it pays 15 for 1, right? I add from my profits now to 3, and I get paid that same $42. There's 42, and I'm back down to 10. And after pulling that move off 2 times on the same number, I have 50, 75, almost $100 on the second time. And again, I did this. I decided not to press to the ceiling a couple of times and just kind of rinse and repeated that. $50, $50 every time it pulls off the move. 1, 3. And if I wanted to go with a 2 unit bet, I'm doing it from the profit stack. So 1, 3, 2, 4 can work on the numbers because now 2 pays 28, right? And now I go to a 4 unit bet. I go to $40. There's a 4 unit bet. I got a little bit of money in the rack. 40 pays 56. And when I go back down to 1, a 1, 3, 2, 4, you're rocking $100 in profit on that thing, right? That's positive progressions in craps. It works if you play each number as an independent thing, okay? All those positive progressions work really well, okay? I like the double tap because it gives me a chance to really repay the table, right? Again, on the 9, that pays 15 for 1 and looks like a quarter, and it pays $35 on the second hit, and I'm back down to 10. That's a $50 win. And you can rinse and repeat that on each number, and guess what? You don't have to go to $500 per number if you're doing this kind of a rhythm thing. This works really well. Same as an up and pull, right? If that 9 paid 15 for 1 and I went up to 15 and kept 10, well, there's my original money back, right? On this bet even. Even if this is a free bet and I take a 1 hit and I say, you know what? The rebet or the free play paid for itself too. Now I got 15. That pays $21, right? And it probably looks like 20, maybe 25, but probably 20. And now I've got 15 in the rack. And then 20, that pays the 28, looks like a quarter. And in 3 hits, I've got, what do I got here? 25, $43 in the rack, right? And 25 pays 35. Whoops, 1 and 2 of those rather. Had that backwards. Maybe it goes to 35 and I keep the quarter. And then we get paid 50 for 1. And if you just march your bets up a little bit on a good roll, you don't ever have to regress again. Like, one thing I don't like doing in craps is regressing that second time. If I'm going to be here, if I'm already playing for free, and if one of my bets happens to pull that double tap, right, where you get that second hit and I've got some lockup in the thing, I'm like, that number made its money, made itself back and made some profit. This number is free to kind of roll a little bit and let it happen as we go. That's an interesting way to play. And again, all these flat betting, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 8, all the different things you can play as a flat bet, Baccarat style positive progression can be done up here. This is the genesis, by the way, of the ways that Waylon plays. Okay, when he does and I joke about Waylon a lot. I love that guy, right? And we joke and say, all of Waylon's stuff is great, but they're all the same, right? Everything Waylon does kind of is a variation of the same thing that he likes, which is even a 6-8 ladder, the little 6-8 ladder. All that it is saying, what's a really good way to play a negative progression? If I lose 1, I go with 2, whatever. If I lose 2, I go with 3. If 3 wins, or 3 wins from here, I'm back down to 2, right? And that's kind of the way that he runs his stuff. He looks at all of this, a normal negative prog, and goes, well, if I have 2 numbers going, these 2 numbers, I can work those numbers either independently as a negative progression or together as a negative progression, right? Either going from 12 to 18 to 24 on the negative, or going from 24 to 48 to 90 on these guys here, right? If you look at each number as an independent guy, the way that you're going to bet this thing out, that's the way that you build a way to hammer or hope for a hot roll. And again, I'd say take the regular positive progressions that we all love. And again, there's a 1. If we do this one, the 4-leg parlay, the 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 4, 4 goes to 8. And if, God forbid, you win on that 4th one, right, you have a net 15 unit win, right? 4 in a row on a number. That's a great, you kept a streak in Baccarat, play it like that. Bob's your uncle, right? You could do the same thing up here, right? On hit number 1, that pays 35, right? There's your 1 to 2. 60 pays 70, right? There's 2 to 4. That's your second one. That pays, what does that pay? 140, right? 125, 140, right? You can go to 240 now. Let's make this a black chip, right? It's a full press. That's 1, 2. There's that one there, right? Now the 4th hit, 240 pays 280, right? If you're willing to let the $30 die, like you would in a 4-leg parlay on Baccarat, it's the same play. The difference is that when this thing ultimately comes down and wins, here's where we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 500 and $50 minus your initial 30. The positive progressions work on Baccarat. That same play on Baccarat wins you 15 units in Baccarat. This is 15 units from $30 though, right? Starting with a $30 base. And because you win a little more each time, you can make that work a little better. That's a way to take your positive progressions and apply them to each number independently. You could do that simply on the don't pass or simply on the don't come. If you want to go don't pass, no odds, and a don't come, and a 7 comes and they both win, this goes to parlay. The next DC takes that win, parlays itself up, and when you win the second time, and you're here, double up, goes to the 9. If you win them both, then bully for you, you're out, and your initial 2-unit bet, 1 for the don't, 1 for the DC, turns into a nice fat stack of 100 and whatever that is, 135. Not bad, right? That's what it is. Okay. That's not a martingale. I'm not talking about losing. I'm talking about when you win. I'm talking about winning progressions, right? Using your wins as leverage. That's a positive progression. Taking the win you got and hammering it up. If you do that, 4-legger or a 2-legger or a 3-legger or a 1-3 or whatever you're going to do on any one number, on the pass line, on the don't pass line, you can replicate what you do in Baccarat, but on multiple hits or on multiple numbers. Just an interesting way to approach it. And again, when I go back to, I'm going to go back to the screen here in a second. Let me wind back to this one. If you put yourself in these categories of, am I a builder? That's not the way to build bankroll. What I just showed you is not the way to build bankroll. Okay, that's a way to take your bankroll and light it on fire, hoping for something to happen. That's not a way to build comps because you're using casino money to build the bets. They don't comp you on that. They comp you on what comes out of here. Comps are based on this, not using wins. Okay, that's a real, even though it's your money, they don't look at that as part of your play. They just don't. Okay, if you're the guy that's designed a strategy, the skill 66, the bald guy special, whatever it is, to get out of the hand and play forever, you're the hoper guy. You're hoping for something to happen. Most of the time, that person ties because it never happens, right? The hope dies because the person sevens out before anything can happen, or they never get to the position where they can start the hoping. They lose too early. That third player I should put in red because it's very, very hard to live in that world. Most craps players try and live in that world. It's the hardest world to live in. Honestly, it is. To be, I'm out of the hand, let me try. I'm out of the hand, let me try. Oh, I didn't get out. I didn't get out. I'm out of the hand, let me try. Your bankroll just goes to shit when you're that person. Okay. That person, however, is the only guy in the whole casino that's ever set up to hammer the good roll. And that's where this give and take, this push pull of craps happens. Because playing for hope means playing to lose, except for that one or two times in a 100 that you really do get to capitalize. And if you're in it for that rush, these are the ways that you do it. Personally, that double tap is the way. On craps, to me, the 1-2-1, 1-2-1, 1-2-1 is the way to do it. It's very low risk. Once you're out of a hand, you take one crack at a number, you double it up. If it happens to come in, that's great. It repays the entire spread. You can put money away and you're good. You don't have to shoot for purple chips. Now you can, and I will show you tomorrow ways to really hammer a table for purple chips if you want to go that route. But again, if you play in ways that are designed to sort of rinse and repeat, and look at what really happens, right? The chance of a number hitting twice is about 25, 30%. It just doesn't happen all that often. So if you have a way to play that says, I'll take the first hit and hammer it up. If that second hit comes, it pays for everything, I'm good. And don't hope for anything more than that. You're going to be in great shape. For the most part, after you're out of the hand, you'll be in good shape. And that's sort of the way that I think, or a way I wish people would look at this game more often, is once I'm out of the hand, play still for a short run. Play conservatively for a short run. And then if it goes, it goes. But that double tap's a great way to get out. All right, anyway, let me check some questions here and see what you guys are talking about in chat before I go and do my day job. So let me see. I see Warner says good morning. Yeah, it's not a martingale. Maybe I said it wrong, but I was not going negative. I was going positive on wins there, right? Let's see. Gary says he played $5 craps at the Palms, didn't catch the roll, but he caught a 6-leg pass. Really? That's cool. Or pass line parlay. That's fantastic. Isn't that great when those things happen? And it's funny because even on shitty rolls, you'll find that pass line parlay works. Actually, I hit a 3-leg horn yesterday on my shot. Ian's out here. What was my rolls on that shot? I came out with an 11 and then a 3, a 3, a 12, and something else. It was like 5 horns in a row, and I was on it, which was really kind of cool. I collected some, of course, but I went from I think I went from like a 3-way craps to a $12 horn to a $24 horn to a $50 horn, and I hit the 50. But I kept bringing back like half the money. Anyway, that kind of stuff happens, and you can have a really poor table, but something weird makes money for you. The pass line parlay is my favorite, dude. I love that thing. Let's see. Vic says, same bet, power press is not a good way to progress on a hot table. I don't agree with you. I mean, only because I know that it works, right? If you get out of the hand, right, I would power press first and then come same bet. I wouldn't same bet, then power press. But if I did something else, and again, that demonstration I just did was assume you're out of the hand. Assume you already did something. You got a couple of hits, and now you're playing with quote unquote house money, or you're playing with your wins. Then I say power press regress power press regress number by number. It's a good way to kind of grow back as a roll starts to form. If the roll doesn't form, it didn't really cost you much except for your initial, right? Let's see. Student made 7 passes. Wow. That's crazy, man. That is so crazy. The schedule of increases governed by the point contest at the tail of a streak of natural come out winners. Yeah, I mean, you're getting into Bo Parker territory there for sure. All right, what else do we have here? Anything else? I think that's it. You guys, let's see. What is 700? Hope for the long roll, play for the short. Always play for the short roll. Always play for the short roll. And you know, if you're playing craps, I believe you should be kind of playing for the long roll. Unless you're gonna just grind a don't out, that's fine. Honestly, I think you play craps to play for the long roll. You play other games are better suited to grind things out. The rhythm of craps makes the grind hard, right? The don't pass is great for grinding. However, the don't pass is also volatile because of the come out sequence. You can lose 8 units on a come out like that in craps, right? In other games, that rhythm is just different, right? That you can still be on a shitty table and have a terrible come out sequence and but everybody could PSO, right? But the don't pass player could still lose money on that, right? You could have a come out 11, come out 7, set a point and 7 out right away, and the don't pass guy gets paid but loses money. That's the problem with craps, is that those styles of play are great, but you can still get beat even on the table that's doing what you want it to do, right? Even on a good table. How many times have you been on a good table where the guy hits 6 points, but every come out number is a craps number? It's like 2, 3, 2, 3, you know, and set a point, hit a point, you got nothing in the box, you're back out to a come out crap sequence, and before you know it, you're down $150 and the guy's on roll 15, right? The rhythm of craps is weird, and grinding it is hard. You can do it. Ken has showed it, I've showed it, but it's hard. Other games are better suited for it. I think other games are better suited for this. Although you can do it in craps, it's not the modality of the game. The modality of the game is to more go for it. And I think that's the difference that I see. And again, I may be oversimplifying it, but that's just the way that I feel it. So anyway, that's my opinion. It's Monday. I'm out of here. I got to go to work. Love y'all. I'll leave you with my with the comment from Lou. I'm gonna go forward a couple here. Remembering this, staying focused, right? Follow your plan, observing conditions, control your emotions, understand your game, stay disciplined, have fun, and remember, as Ken says, all strategies go down. Everything will lose at some point, so enjoy your time. Take advantage of it when it goes your way. That's the best advice I can ever give you. When it's going your way, take full advantage. And that's it, guys. I'm out. Keep it simple. Have a great Monday. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.